Tubhyam cha narada prusham bhagavan vivruddha bhavena sadhu paritushta uvacha yogam jnanam cha bhagavatam satatviddeepam yadvasudeva sharana vidura sajaiva.
Hare Krishna, translation, text 19. O Narada, you were taught about the science of God and his transcendental loving service by the personality of Godhead in his incarnation of Hamshavdara. He was very much pleased with you due to your intense proportion of devotional service. He also explained unto you lucidly the full science of devotional service, which is especially understandable by persons who are souls surrendered unto Lord Vasudev, the personality of Godhead.
Chakram chadikshva vihitam dashasu svatejo manvantareshu manuvanshadaro bibharti drashteshu rajasu damam yaddattat swakirti satye triprushta ushati prashayamscharaitah.
As the incarnation of Manu, the Lord became the descendant of the Manu dynasty and ruled over the miscreant kingly order, subduing them by his powerful wheel weapon. Undeterred but in all circumstances, his rule was characterized by his glorious fame, which spread over the three lokas and above them to the planetary system of Satyalok, the topmost in the universe.
Dhanvantarischa Bhagavan Swayameva Kirtir Namnan Runa Pururuja Ruja Ashuhanti Yagye Cha Bhagamamruta Yuravavurattam Ayushya Vedam Manushastya Vartiya Loke.
The Lord, in his incarnation of Dhanvantari, very quickly cures the diseases of the ever-diseased living entities simply by his fame personified, and only because of him do the demigods achieve long lives. Thus, he inaugurated the medical science or the knowledge of medicine in the universe. Thus, the personality of Godhead becomes ever glorified. He also exacted a share from the sacrifices, and it is he only who inaugurated the medical science or the knowledge of medicine in the universe.
Kshatram Shayaya Vidinopamrutam Mahatma Brahmadrup Ujazit Tapatham Narakaltishlipsu Udvanti So Avanikantakam Ugraviryaha Trihi Sapta Krutvarudara Paramesvadena.
When the ruling administrators, who are known as the Shaktiyas, turned astray from the path of the absolute truth, being desirous to suffer in hell, the Lord, in his incarnation as the sage Parshurama, uprooted those unwanted kings who appeared as the thorns of the earth. Thus, he thrice 7 times uprooted the Kshatriyas with his keen, sharpened chopper.
Asmat prasada sumukha kalaya kalesha ikshvaku vansha avatiya guru nideshe tishtan vanam sadayitanuja avivesha yasmin virudya dashakanda antimarshat.
Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Maharaja Ikshvaku as the Lord of his eternal potency, Sita. Under the order of his father, Maharaja Dashratha, he entered the forest and lived there for considerable years with his wife and younger brother Ramana, who was very materially powerful with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against lived there for considerable years with his wife and younger brother Ravana, who was very materially powerful with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against him and was thus ultimately vanquished.
Yasmai dat udatihi uddapaya angavepaha margam sapatyaripuram harvad ditakshoho dure suhyanamathittarosha sushona drashtya tatapyamanamakaro ragana prachakraha.
The personality of Godhead Ramchandra became aggrieved for his distant intimate friend Sita, glanced over the city of the enemy Ravana with red hot eyes like those of Hara, who wanted to burn the kingdom of heaven. The great ocean, trembling in fear, gave him his way because its family members, the aquatics like the sharks, snakes, and crocodiles, were being burnt by the heat of the angry red-hot eyes of the Lord.
Vakshah sthalasparshah mahendravaha dantaihi vidambati kaku pujjashuh uddhasam sadyah subhi saha vinishyati durarhutu vispurjite tanusha ucharato sainyai.
When Ravana was engaged in the battle, the trunk of the elephant which carried the king of heaven, Indra, broke in pieces, having collided with the chest of Ravana, and the scattered parts, broken parts, illuminated all directions. Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers, thinking himself of the conqueror of all directions. But his laughter, overtaken by joy, along with his very air of life, suddenly ceased with the tingling sound of the bow of Ramchandra, the personality of Godhead.
Bhumehi surestharava ruthvi mirdataya klesha vyayaya kalaya sita krishna keshah jatah karishyati janana palakshya margah karmani chatmamahi mopan nibandhanani.
When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of the kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is.
लोकेन जीवहरणं यत् उलिककायः त्रैमासिकस्य च पदाशक्तो अपवृत्तः यदृक्तातन्तरगतेन दिवि स्पृशोर्वा अन्मूलनं त्वितरस्थार्जुनर्यो न भाव्यम्.
There is no doubt about Lord Krishna as being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how is it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother, to overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, or to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself.
Yatvai vraje pashun vishato pyapitan पालन्तु अजीवयत् अनुग्रहदृष्टिवृष्ट्या तत्सुदये अतिविषवीर्य विलोलजिह्वम् उच्चाटयिष्यत् उरगं विहरन् ह्यदिन्याम्.
Then also, when the cowherd boys and their animals drank the poisoned water of the river Yamuna, and after the Lord in his childhood revived them by his merciful grace, just to purify the water of the river Yamuna, he jumped into it as if playing and chastised the venomous Kalia snake, which was lurking there, its tongue emitting waves of poison. Who can perform such Herculean tasks but the Supreme Lord?
तत्कर्म दिव्यमिव निहिशयानम् दावाग्निना शुचिवेन्ने परिदह्यमाने उन्नेष्यति व्रजमतो वसितान्तकालम् नेत्रेऽपि दाप्य सबलोकनिर्गम्य वीर्यः.
On the very night of the day of the chastisement of the Kalia snake, when the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi were sleeping carefreely, there was a forest fire ablaze due to dry leaves, and it appeared that all the inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balaram, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord.
गृहाणित यत् यत् तुब्ध मुष्य माता शुल्बं सुतस्य न तु तदमुष्यमाति यज्रुम्बतो अस्य वदने भुवनानि गोपी संवीक्ष्य शक्ति शङ्कितमनः प्रतिबोधितासेत्.
When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son.
Nandam cha mokshati bhayad varunasya pashad gopan bileshu pahitan maya sununa cha ahyan yaprutam nishishayan mati sramena lokam vikuntam upaneshyati gokulam sma.
Lord Krishna saved his foster father, Nanda Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavan, who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his godhood.
Gopair makhe pratihate vrajya viplavaya dever bivarshati pashuna krupayari rikshu tharta uchilindram eva sapta dinani sapta varsho mahidramanadeika kare salilam.
When the cowherd men of Vrindavan, under instruction of Krishna, stopped sacrifice to the heavenly king Indra, the whole tract of land known as Vraj was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Vraja, held up the hill known as Govardhan with one hand only, although he was only 7 years old. He did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water.
क्रीडन् वने निशिनिशाकर रश्मि गौर्या रासोन्मुखः कलपदात्त मूर्छितेन उदीपितस्मररुजां रुजमृद तुनां यतुर्हरिष्यति शिरोधनदानुगस्य.
When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavan, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavan by sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Shankachura, as rich follower of the treasurer of heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk.
ये च प्रलम्बखरदल्दुरकेशिरिष्ट मल्लेबकं सयवनः कपिपौण्ड्रकाद्यः अन्ये च शाल्वकुचबल्वलदन्तवक्त्रः सप्तोक्षशम्बरविदुरथुर्कम्बिमुख्यः ये वामृदै समितिशालिनि आतवचापः काम्बोजमस्त्य कुरु सञ्जय कैकयाद्यः यास्यन्त्य दर्शनमलं बलपार्थ भीम व्याजाह्ययेन हरिणा निलयं तदीयम्.
All demonic personalities like Pralamba, Dhenuka, Baka, Keshi, Arishta, Chanura, Mushtika, Kulavai Pila, elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Narakasura, and Pondraka, great marshals like Salva, Dviveda, monkey, and Balvala, Dantavakra, the 7 bulls, Shambara, Viduraka, and Rukmi, as also great warriors like Kamboja, Matsya, Kuru, Srinjaya, and Kekaya, would all fight vigorously, either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baladev, Arjun, Bhima, etc. And the demons, thus being killed, would attain either the impersonal Brahma Jyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Alena. Oh, I thought it's till 36. One more, right? No. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Pragya Mataji and Veena Mataji, for your recitation. Welcome everyone else to today's session. We continue with our reading of chapter number 7, and we will be discussing text number 31 to 33 today. So I'm getting some messages that my connection is a bit unstable. If for any reason it drops off, I'll connect with my phone and I may need some help showing the verses on the screen. Okay, so let's continue. And we'll begin with the recitation of the Mangala Charanam prayers. Please feel free to join in. Be unmuted mics. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Taptakan Sinagorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Satadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivashadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravadi Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Aschacha Dishatharine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we carry on with the description of the scheduled incarnations, and this is Lord Brahma speaking to Sri Narad Muni. And in this particular section, discussions all about Lord Krishna, and there's quite a few verses in this regard. So text number 31. Nandam chamokshati bhayad varunasya pashad gopan vileshu pihitan mayasununancha ani apritam nishisayanam atishramena lokam vikuntam upanishyati go pulam sma. So translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Krishna saved his foster father, Nanda Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the coward boys from the caves of the mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavan who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts were transcendental and certainly prove without doubt his Godhead. Purport. Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Lord Krishna, went to take his bath in the river Yamuna in the dead of night, mistakenly thinking that the night was already over. Thus the demigod Varuna took him to the Varuna planet just to have a look at the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who appeared there to release his father. Actually, there was no arrest of Maharaj Nanda by Varuna, because the inhabitants of Vrindavan were always engaged in thinking of Krishna, in constant meditation on the personality of Godhead, in a particular form of samadhi or trance of bhakti yoga. They have no fear of the miseries of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that to be in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by full surrender in transcendental love, frees one from the miseries afflicted by the laws of material nature. Here it is clearly mentioned that the inhabitants of Vrindavan were extremely busy in the hard labor of their day's work. And due to the day's hard labor, they were engaged in sound sleep at night. So practically, they had very little time to devote to meditation or to the other paraphernalia of spiritual activities. But factually, they were engaged in the higher spiritual activities only. Everything done by them was spiritualized because everything was dovetailed in their relationship with Lord Sri Krishna. The central point of activities was Krishna, and as such, the so-called activities in the material world were saturated with spiritual potency. That is the advantage of the way of Bhakti Yoga. One should discharge one's duty on Krishna's behalf, and all one's actions will be saturated with Krishna thought, the highest pattern of trance and spiritual realization. So it's a magnificent purport by Srila Prabhupada, so we can discuss some of the salient points. So in this verse, Lord Brahma is narrating to Sri Narad 3 pastimes of Lord Krishna. The first one, him saving his father Nanda Maharaj after he was captured by Varuna. The second one is he's releasing his friends after they were captured and put into the cave by the son of Maya. And the third pastime here is describing the residents of Vrindavan, their activities, and the supreme nature of their consciousness. So we will briefly discuss each. There's another 2 verses with pastime, so time is very limited. So the first pastime, as many of you may know, Nanda Maharaj dry fasted the entire Ekadasi, which is very instructive for us. And then the next day, which was Dwadasi, it was customary that they would go and take their bath, and then they would proceed to break their fast. So as Srila Prabhupada explains in this verse, there was some confusion that took place in Nanda Maharaj's mind, and he actually went and took bath at an inappropriate time. Vedic culture, there's a proper time and place for every single activity. And they fall into 2 broad categories, auspicious time and inauspicious time. So even to take bath in the rivers, there was what is considered auspicious and inauspicious. And if one took bath in an inauspicious time, then the demigods in charge of that particular feature, in this case Varuna, they would become disturbed. But it is revealed here that the main reason that Maharaj Nanda was captured, because Varuna was thinking that he would like to have the darshan of Lord Krishna. He would like to have the audience of Lord Krishna. In the Krishna book, it's described slightly differently. There it is described that how an attendant of Varuna captured Nanda Maharaj. And when Nanda Maharaj sought for help from Krishna, Krishna immediately appeared where Varuna was. And Varuna profusely apologized to Lord Krishna to say, this should not have happened. Nanda Maharaj should not have been captured. And he was offering his obeisances to Lord Krishna. He was in awe, and he was very happy to get the audience of Lord Krishna. And Nanda Maharaj, when he was seeing how this great, effulgent, opulent demigod was so much in awe and reverence of Lord Krishna, he was wondering what is going on here. But the nature of Lord Krishna, of the residents of the Vrajavasis being covered by Yoga Maya, they can never see Krishna as God. So it could not occur to Maharaj Nanda that Varuna was actually interacting with Krishna as Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was just thinking to himself, I think he's got to know what a wonderful boy Lord Krishna is. And he's so pleased with Krishna's wonderful nature that he is offering him some respects. Now in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says something quite interesting. He says that actually there was no arrest of Nanda Maharaj by Varuna. And he says, why? Because the inhabitants of Vrindavan were always engaged in thinking of Krishna in constant meditation and in a particular form of samadhi. Now, Srila Prabhupada is making a very interesting point here. And that particular point is, when one is generally arrested, not sure if anyone's ever had this bad fortune of being arrested, but the natural feeling that comes with being arrested is fear, apprehension, panic, depression. That is what it means to be arrested. But Nanda Maharaj, he never felt any of those typical symptoms that one would feel when being arrested. Why? Because he was in samadhi. He was in complete absorption of Lord Krishna. Now, when one is in samadhi, one becomes completely 100% focused, totally absorbed in the object of one's meditation. And everything external to that is not perceived, completely not perceived. So this was the situation with Nanda Maharaj, got arrested. Prabhupada said he was actually not arrested. Because of his full surrender to Lord Krishna, when one is fully surrendered to Lord Krishna, there is no such thing as material miseries. There is no such thing as being afflicted by the material modes or the material nature. And Prabhupada says, praises, this is the beauty of bhakti yoga. This is the beauty of devotional service. One who is completely absorbed in devotional service. There is no affliction. So this arrest by Nanda Maharaj was not perceived. So moving on from that, the second pastime is described about the cowherd boys being captured by the son of Maya. So who was the son of Maya that's being described in this verse? Anyone who's familiar with Krishna book likes to say? Who's being described here? Which demon? Okay, I'll tell you. So the son of Maya was known as Vyomasura. Vyomasura, once Krishna and the cowherd boys were playing, and he said, it's described in the Krishna book that the boys were playing like sheep. They were acting like sheep. And they were having a pretty good time. And then Vyomasura came and he started to capture little groups of boys. And he put them in a cave and he took a huge boulder and he covered the cave. And he was doing this repeatedly till there were only a few boys left who were playing as sheep. And then Krishna saw what this demon was up to. And Krishna dispatched with him very swiftly, killed him. And that huge big boulder that Vyomasura placed in front of the cave, Krishna smashed it with his fist and released the boys. And all of the boys were just so happy. And as always, they are They are praising Krishna. They are praising Krishna. Now, just a point. The point Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the different demons that Krishna kills in Krishna Leela, they represent different anarthas within our heart. And when we absorb ourselves in reading and understanding and reciting and hearing the pastimes of Krishna killing the different demons, that extinguishes and kills certain demons, the anarthas within our heart. And interestingly, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the capture of Varuna and Krishna saving his father, that represents the anartha of thinking that spiritual life can be enhanced by intoxication. Now that might be so applicable to us, but there are many groups and so-called spiritual organizations feel that spiritual experience can be enhanced by intoxication. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that this anartha can be eradicated by listening to this pastime of Krishna saving his father Nanda Maharaj. As far as the pastime of the killing of Vyamasura, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that associating with thieves and other rascals and with people who put themselves forward as avatars, sometimes, maybe not due to our own willing, we may associate with people of nefarious nature, thieves and rascals, and also people who may have in their consciousness that they are some form of avatar. And if we read this pastime, understand this pastime, appreciate that pastime, this anartha won't capture us. And the final part of this verse is the description of the residents of Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada's purport is so beautiful. And if you look at the verse, it says here that the residents of Vrindavan, they were so busy during the daytime, they were Vaishyas, going on with their business of Vaishyas, that at night they would sleep. But all of these residents of Vrindavan, they were promoted to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. Now one may think one only qualifies to reach such a position by intense sadhana or intense spiritual practices. Only by intense spiritual practices will we reach the spiritual sky. That is the norm of thinking. And Prabhupada says the residents of Vrindavan, they were so busy day, and at night they were so tired they went to sleep. There was no time for them to do any sadhana or meditation. And that may raise the question, how were they promoted to not only the spiritual planet, but the highest planet? Here it is, the word is used, Gokulam. Gokulam. How could they be promoted? And Prabhupada explains it so beautifully in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says that the residents of Vrindavan, they were 24 hours a day in meditation. Whatever activities they were doing, if Mother Yashoda was busy churning the butter, she was singing the glories of Lord Krishna, thinking of Lord Krishna. The gopis whole day while they were doing their household duties, they were meditating on Krishna. The gopas, they were thinking of Krishna. So the residents of Vrindavan, by dint of their practice of bhakti yoga, and the highest practice of bhakti yoga is Krishna Smaranam, constant thinking of Krishna. All our practices in bhakti yoga should culminate in this constant Krishna Smaranam, thinking of Krishna. So the residents of Vrindavan, they didn't have a need to practice yoga. They didn't have a need to practice sadhana. By dint of their constant absorption in Krishna, on Krishna, it was certain that they would reach the highest spiritual destination. This verse and this purpose just by itself, one can speak and discuss and churn and appreciate and relish it for so long. But we're going through it very quickly. So we will move on to the next verse. So text number 32. Gopal make pratihate vrajavrik pralavya deve bivarsati pashun kripaya rirakshasu darto chilindram iva sapta dinani shapta varsho mahidram anagaika kare shalilam. Translation and purport. When the coward men of Vrindavan, under instruction of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifice to the heavenly king Indra, the whole tract of land known as Vraja was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Vraja, held up the hill known as Govardhan with only one hand only. Although he was only 7 years old, he did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water. Purport. Children play with an umbrella generally known as a frog's umbrella. And Lord Krishna, when he was only 7 years old, could snatch the great hill known as Govardhan Parvat at Vrindavan and hold it for 7 days continuously with one hand, just to protect the animals and the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the wrath of Indra, the heavenly king, who had been denied sacrificial offerings by the inhabitants of Rajabhumis. So what is the frog's umbrella Srila Prabhupada is referring to here? The children pray with? What is this? They are mushrooms. Children play with mushrooms. They play in the field, they see a mushroom, or they call it frog's umbrella because a frog, he can go hide under the mushroom, and that's his umbrella. So Prabhupada says children play with an umbrella known as frog's umbrella. And they can just quickly and easily take the mushroom and play with it. And in the same way, Lord Krishna just lifted Govardhan Hill with his little hand when he was only 7 years old and to teach Lord Indra a lesson. And then Prabhupada talks about, actually there is no need of offering sacrifices to the demigods for their services if one is engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Sacrifices recommended in the Vedic literature for satisfaction of the demigods are a sort of inducement to the sacrifices to realize the existence of higher authorities. The demigods are engaged by the Lord as controlling deities of material affairs. And according to the Bhagavad Gita, when the demigod is worshipped, the whole process is accepted as the indirect method for worshipping the Supreme Lord. But when the Supreme Lord is worshipped directly, there is no need of worshipping the demigods or offering them sacrifices, as recommended in particular circumstances. Lord Krishna therefore advised the inhabitants of Rajabhumi not to offer any sacrifices to the heavenly king Indra. But Indra, not knowing Lord Krishna in Rajabhumi, was angry at the inhabitants of Rajabhumi and tried to avenge the offense. But competent as the Lord was, he saved the inhabitants and animals of Rajabhumi by his personal energy and proved definitely that anyone directly engaged as a devotee of the Supreme Lord need not satisfy any demigods, however great, even to the level of Brahma or Shiva. Thus, this incident definitely proved without a doubt that Lord Krishna is the personality of Godhead, and that he was so in all circumstances, as a child on the lap of his mother, as a boy 7 years old, and as a man, old man of 125 years of age. In either case, he was never on the level of the ordinary man, and even in his advanced age, He appeared as a young boy, 16 years old. These are the particular features of the transcendental body of the Lord. So the gist of this purport is the transcendental supreme nature of Lord Krishna. In his competency to hold a mountain, only when he is 7 years old. And Prabhupada also focuses on the purport that if one is a devotee of Krishna, there is no need to separately try to satisfy the demigods. There is no need. One just needs to focus completely on Krishna. Generally, this is a well-accepted fact among devotees, but sometimes due to our conditioning, we still have some traces of fear and concern that if we stop worshipping other demigods, there may be some difficulty coming our way. But we should have absolute and 100% faith that that will never be the situation. We should not allow even the slightest trace within our consciousness for such thoughts to appear. Faith means, Prabhupada says, the definition of faith is the complete conviction that simply by serving Krishna, all purposes are achieved. That is the definition of faith, without fear. Okay, we'll move on to the final verse in today's discussion, text number 33. Kredhan vane nishi nisha karadrashmi goryam rasan mukha kalapadayata mujitena udi pita smarana rujam rajabri had vadhunam artu arishyati shirodana danugasya. Translation and purport. When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavan, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavan by sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Sankachoda, a rich follower of the treasure of heaven Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. Purport. We should carefully note that the statements described herein are the statements of Brahmaji to Narada. And he was speaking to Narada of events that would happen in the future during the advent of Lord Krishna. The pastimes of the Lord are known to the experts who are able to see past, present, and future. And Brahmaji, being one of them, foretold what would happen in the future. The killing of Sankachud by the Lord is a more recent incident after the Rasa Leela, and not exactly a simultaneous affair. In the previous verses, we have seen also that the Lord's engagement in the affairs of the forest fire was described along with his pastimes of punishing the Kali serpent. Oh. Can you hear me?
Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
I don't know what happened to my screen. Just bear with me. Okay, let me just read from my phone. I don't know. My screen suddenly disappeared. So this is text number 33. Just bear with me, dear devotees. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay. The pastimes of the Lord are known to the experts who are able to see past, present, and future. And Brahmaji being one of them. Let me pause sharing. Stop sharing. And Brahmaji, being one of them, foretold what would happen in the future. The killing of Sankachud by the Lord is a more recent incident after the Rasa Leela, and not exactly a simultaneous affair. In the previous verses, we have seen also that the Lord's engagement in the affairs of the forest fire was described along with his pastimes of punishing the Kaliya snake, and similarly the pastimes of the Rasa dance and the killing of Sankachud are also described herein. The adjustment is that all of these incidents would take place in the future, after the time when it was being foretold by Brahmaji to Narada. The demon Sankachud was killed by the Lord during his pastimes at Aurika in the month of Falgun. And the same ceremony is still observed in India by the burning of the effigy of Sankachud one day prior to the Lord's pastimes at Aurika, generally known as Horika. Yeah. Generally, the future appearance and the activities of the Lord or his incarnations are foretold in the scriptures, and thus the Suda incarnations are unable to cheat persons or in knowledge of the events as they are described in the authoritative scriptures. So this particular pastime, I think it's chapter number 38 in the Krishna book. There was a demon, there was a personality named Sankachud. He was a good friend of Kuvera, who is the treasurer. And because he was a good friend of Sankachud, of Kuvera, he was very rich and wealthy and well dressed, and he was quite taken up with his own sense of self-worth and pride. Now, it is a nature of men with such consciousness. When they see another man enjoying the company of another attractive woman, in their consciousness, they automatically think, oh, I am much more attractive than this man. This woman should be enjoying with me. This is generally how men of that nature think. And it's actually quite common. Women, they do not think, even if it's a married woman. If they see a beautiful married woman, they would think, oh, she's so beautiful. I am much more qualified to make her happy or to enjoy with her. So this Sankachud saw Lord Krishna enjoying the rasa dance with the gopis. And his immediate thought was, all these women, they should be enjoying with me, not just two common coward boys, Krishna and Balaram. So he kidnapped the gopis and he took them away. The particular feature of this demon Sankachud, Shanka means conch. So he had a very extraordinarily beautiful jewel in the shape of a conch on his head. So he captured the gopis and he tried to take them away with the intention of enjoying with them. And the gopis, in all such situations, they reach out to Krishna, call out to Krishna to come and protect them. And they called to Krishna, and Krishna and Balaram went. And as described in this verse, Krishna dismissed Sankachud very, very easily. With just one hit, his head got dismantled from the trunk of his body. And after Krishna had killed it, Krishna went to his head, took this amazing conscious jewel with the intention of giving it to someone. And can someone remember who he gave it to? Who in his mind did he want to give this jewel to? Who can remember? Okay, I'll tell you. He gave it to Balaram. That's described in the Krishna book. He took it and he presented it to Balaram, and Balaram accepted it very graciously, and Balaram was very happy. Now, this particular demon, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, says it represents the anartha of pride. When one does something, one wants to be glorified. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, even in devotional service, often we can get caught in the trap of executing devotional service with some either gross or subtle desires to receive some glorification for that particular service, with the aim of increasing our pride. I mean, I'm not sure you all fall in that trap, but I am prone to fall into that. So when I read this, I was thinking, I'm going to start reading this pastime more and more, so this pride may disappear from my heart. And when I do any service for the Lord, there will be no desire for any name or fame. Okay, it's 8:43. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. The devotees, is any questions or comments that you have? Please feel free to unmute and ask. Hare Krishna. You all are so absorbed in these pastimes. Okay, let me see the chat. Is there anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Madam Pranam, glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a wonderful class, and apologies in advance because I'm going to ask a bit of a silly question, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, you know, on the previous verse, you mentioned that
Oh, I think my connection has gone bad again. Can you all hear me? Okay, wait. Just give me a minute. I'm going to swap to my phone.
I can hear you, Prabhuji.
But did you hear Namrata Mataji? Was it only me or did she drop off?
No, I think Namrata Mataji, because we can hear you.
Okay.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mataji.
You dropped off for a while. You need to
Yeah.
repeat your question, Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I was driving, so apologies for that. So Prabhuji, my question is that, you know, in the previous verse, you mentioned about having full faith and full conviction in Lord Krishna and not
Lost you again. Okay, let's hope that Namrata Mataji comes back.
Yeah.
Driving. In the meantime,
the faith invite you. Can you still hear me, Prabhuji?
I dropped you. I lost you when you said, we should have full faith, and then you dropped off. Can you continue? Just repeat your question, please.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Sorry.
It's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, Prabhuji, there's lots of friends and people I have within Bracknell community, and they do this Ganesh Puja every year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to one place, you know, other 4-5 friends also invite you, which means, you know, like in a week's time, you're going from one place to another. And I've obviously come to a point now where after work, after family, sometimes if I have my chantings to do, I'm like, okay, do I want to go? So then I feel like, am I disrespecting Lord Ganesh because I have been invited and I actually, sorry to say this, Prabhuji, but don't want to go because, or I can't go because I have my chanting to finish, or if I have committed to reading, I have that to finish. So then it just makes me, not fear is probably not the right word because I have full faith in Krishna, but it makes me feel like, should I be doing that or should I just pop in for half an hour? And I'm always in this dilemma. You go to one place, you have to carry on to go to everybody else's place. And it's a bit, am I doing something wrong by saying, I'm really sorry, I can't come? Am I being disrespectful?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, from a spiritual point of view, you are not doing anything wrong. Your priorities are in the right place, and you're doing the right thing at the right time. The only thing I can think about is they may be deprived of hearing you chant the holy name, but you're not going. But that is not something bad. Prabhupada says we save ourselves first before we save anyone else. So the answer to your question is you're not doing anything wrong. You definitely have your priorities in the right place. And if you do go, the only purpose you would go is to hopefully give them your association and allow them to hear you chanting.
Thank you, Prabhuji. All clear. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments, or reflections? Anyone? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind participation in today's session and giving us your association. All glories to your service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Vanchikalpatarabhyascha.
Kripa Sindhubhya Pacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnava.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.